welcome to Turn the Page, the official podcast of the Syosset Public Library.
Hello, welcome. So today I'm here with the Syosset Public Library's Turn the Page podcast. My name is Sharon Long and I am the Teen Services Librarian here. And today I have two very special guests with us.
Hi, I'm Kristin Howell and I am currently one of the choral directors at Syosset High School and the director of the Adelettes. I'm also a former member of the Adelettes. I graduated from Syosset High School in 1989, and Lindi was my teacher and my mentor, and is still my mentor and mom, figure and friend, and just inspiration. Sister-like figure.
Take it
I'm
away.
Lindi Bortney, and I founded the Adelettes, and I met Kristin as a 7th grader, and she made me look good all these years. She was my accompanist, and she was an outstanding baritone section leader and president, and she's made it possible for the Adelettes to continue, because when I retired, it would have died with me had not Kristin been able to keep it going and improve upon it. So I love her.
You know, I was always wondering, sort of how the transition went once you were looking to retire and everything with, this wonderful group that you had built over the years. I wanted to ask Kristin and both of you to sort of explain how that transition came together, because full disclosure to our listening audience, I also was a member of the Adelettes and graduated from Syosset High School, and Ms. Bortney was my musical director, and I absolutely adored the entire experience. I had some of the best of my memories in high school were with the Adelettes. So this is a very Adelette-centric, fantastic, time to bring up memories. But the transition was something that, I was worried. I was like, when Ms. Bortney, retires, what's going to happen? So just some.
Well, I was worried too, and I did a lot of begging. And we talked a lot, and Kristin was at this point ready to make a change, I think. But Kristin, you have to speak for yourself.
Yeah, this is a great story, actually. I tell it often, and it was probably one of the better choices I've made in my life. But Lindi and I have always stayed in touch. As soon as I graduated high school, we stayed in touch, and I was in graduate school at the University of Illinois, and I called her and I said, I'm doing a research project and I'm going to use barbershop music, and how does it help students stay focused? And so of course she helped me, and we polled all of the Adelettes, and we had a whole research project going, and she helped me with that. And then I graduated and I got my first job in North Carolina. So my husband's from North Carolina. I taught in Durham for 1 year and realized that I was just too homesick. I had to come back to New York. It was horrible. I couldn't believe I was actually homesick, but I was. So my sweet husband said, you have to be in New York. You have to teach in New York. That's where your heart is. So I was really fortunate. I did get a job immediately in Massapequa. Wonderful, wonderful place. Fabulous job. I ended up being the high school choral director there for 5 years. It was unbelievable, wonderful experience. Miss Bortney came to one of my concerts. It was so nice seeing her in the audience. And then I had a baby, and I realized that Miss Bortney was saying, I'm going to retire next year. Do you think maybe you would consider coming over to Syosset from Massapequa? It's a very similar, situation in terms of what you'd be teaching. It'd be a lot closer to your home. And at that point, I did have a baby, and I really thought about it. It was a tough choice, because I had really strong ties with the students in Massapequa. It was so wonderful. But I realized the best move for me was to move. And she said, I have to keep the Adelettes going. And I said, absolutely. And that was it. the rest is history, and the Adelettes have been thriving ever since then. And Lindy's been a part of the ride the entire time. You know, she's worked with the girls. We've done several nights of barbershop over the past 21 years, where she's been a clinician. We've been to Vermont twice. We've been singing with her current group. All of the girls know her. Every year they know her. It's just been such an easy transition, and I love telling that story because I feel like it was meant to happen. And just knowing that Lindi, what she started, that I can continue to hopefully do what she did. I'll never be her. I mean, she's the best. She is the queen of barbershop, as far as I'm concerned. And you know, my goal is to try and get there, and I'm still trying. But she's my inspiration, so it was the right choice.
Oh, that's amazing. And so I wanted also to talk about the origins of the Adelettes and how the group, you know, started, because barbershop music, I mean, how unique is barbershop music to, you know, Long Island high school, you know, choral experiences? I really like always kind of wondered that, like how unique was being in the Adelettes, because it felt very unique. It felt like something that, you know, maybe I didn't see elsewhere. So I wanted to hear about that whole origin.
Yeah, I can give you a long story. My first job was in Garden City, where the assistant principal was singing with a men's barbershop group. And so as part of the interview, he said, would you start a boys barbershop? And so I did that for 5 years. And then I came to Syosset. And part of the reason I got the job was because the assistant superintendent, Dr. Schwartz, his wife belonged to Island Hills Chorus, and they had just won international in 1978. And so she was going to feed me all the music. And he says, you have barbershop here, do it for the girls. My wife will give you all the music, start a group. And so he was the inspiration, the force behind that decision. And I never looked back. So that's how we got it started. And then I realized I went to an all-Eastern conference, and I met Joe Lyles, who was kind of like the godfather of barbershop. And he was giving a demonstration lecture. And he says, and I'm sitting in the front because otherwise I fall asleep. So I was sitting in the front. And he says, and how many of you sing barbershop with your students? And I'm raising my hand, and nobody behind me had their hand up, you know. And so Joe became my mentor. I guess we all need mentors. And he came with us to NYSMA to be sure that I was doing it right. And so that's really how it started. And then I went on a crusade, my own personal crusade, is I'm going to get barbershop like a chicken in every pot. I wanted barbershop in every chorus room, because I found out that by singing barbershop, it improved all of our singing, our classical music, because you have to have the intonation, you have to blend, you have to have your vowels matching, you have to really, really listen. And it improved all of our singing by coming through barbershop. So it became the most important, to me, vehicle for honoring the young women who were really talented and were wanting that extra creative energy to put someplace. You know, it's like you have your regular choruses and they're great, but there are certain kids who just need a little bit more, and they can't get that more in the regular classroom. And so it's highly auditioned, and it's for those kids who want to go the extra mile because they really are passionate about their music. And I got to say a word about Sharon too, because we all know Kristin's value, but Sharon was one of my most favorite people in the universe, and beautiful singer. And she sang, I will never forget, simple songs from the Bernstein Mass. And she got a 98, and I could have killed the judge, because I still remember this. I
can't believe you remember that. That's wild.
I am so angry because Sharon she has this beautiful, beautiful instrument, and she went on to be representing Sweet Adeline's the mothership. Chose 6 young women from various high schools in the country to form a Young Women in Harmony board. And Sharon was on that board
Oh, wow.
representing the whole Eastern Coast. And so, she made decisions and shared information. And she was our representative. So Sharon is not just another pretty face also. She is very, very special to this, and she kept it going too. So did I answer your question?
I think so. I want to talk about what you just mentioned, but that was a wild experience because we went to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and my mom came with, and my parents, God bless them, they come to everything. They've been to every concert I've ever been in, and we have tapes that probably no one else has of these different experiences. Which
her father will have them.
Yes. Oh, yeah. So, so the whole thing about with the Sweet Adelines International, we spent a day workshopping and just like talking about the types of music, what they should be adding to, the repertoire of, what they're arranging. And, these were girls from all over the country, and we went out to dinner together. It was just such like a wonderful experience. And I'm still so very grateful that you nominated me for that experience because it was just unbelievable. But so as far as, the Adelettes and travel and experiences go, that was something so unique and so amazing. So I know I can tell you where we went when I was in the group, but I know I wanted to ask specifically, Ms. Bortney, like what were some of the most memorable trips and experiences? And then I will ask Kristin the same because I don't know like what they've been up to in the past, 20 years. So.
Yeah, no, I wrote down some things that we did. We went to Nashville. One of the highlights was we went to Nashville and we sang for the national MENC. You have the state things, you have the all Eastern, and then you have the national. So to be invited to give a workshop demonstration for national MENC was really quite exceptional. So we did that. And we also introduced the Young Women in Harmony program to Sweet Adelines in San Antonio at the Riverwalk Hotel. It was wonderful. And we gave a whole program with Ramapo Valley, who were the former international champions of the Sweet Adelines in their competition. So to be on that stage with 3,000 women watching, and as young people, because they're used to old people singing barbershop, and to see young people so enthusiastic and doing so beautifully, it was thrilling. So those are some things. And another thing that I was remembering is music in the parks. We used to go to those every year or every other year, where they would have contests and we would score very high. And one year we got the result that we were #1 in the whole country of the highest scoring choral group that they had done in all of their music in the parks things. So that was really an honor that was quite thrilling to receive. And then we did local. There was a show called In a Minute. I don't know if it's still on local TV. We brought a quartet on because he was the man who was interviewing us wanted to show that there were teenagers who were doing good things as opposed to saying what the bad things were the kids were doing. He wanted to show the opposite, and he used us as an example of kids who were really loving what they were doing and getting it out there to the public. So those are some things that I wrote down, but let's get back to Kristin to see what she's been doing.
So after Lindi retired, thank goodness she stayed local, because I did call her all the time and she helped me tremendously just keep things going at the level that she was at. And those are tough shoes to fill. Those are really tough shoes to fill. And I wanted to make sure I was doing it right. So she really helped me. She would come to rehearsals. She would say, okay, this is where the blend needs to be different. You need to move, the two sides aren't matching. So we need to adjust. We need to figure out, who's going to stand where, and let's match their voices. She would come and help me pick the group. Pretty much every year I would beg, plead, and borrow as long as I could to get her here. And she would help me, and I would have all these girls in the room, and then we would spend about 3 hours and we would have them each sing separately together, this formation, that formation, these two girls, whatnot. And that was just, it was mind-boggling at the different sounds that would happen by simply moving people around. So, like, even a very simple move, but she has the ears for that. She knows. So I always was so super grateful that she would come and help with that and still be, be part of this. But since she retired and moved to Vermont and she's no longer local, I call her and FaceTime her. Anyway, I've taken the group really, we've been fortunate. The school's been supportive in traveling. I did have the honor to go to New York All-State, in Rochester in 2008. We had a concert hour where the Adelettes were featured. It was great. We sang for about 40 minutes, and the program was just chock filled with, wonderful standard music, and then some fun, different kinds of barbershop music, some Joe Lyle's arrangements. He's an incredible arranger. I love him. I've taken the group to Vermont twice to sing with Lindi's group. It's called Made in Vermont, and her group's fantastic. And they put on these incredible shows, and they're featuring wonderful musicians. Last year, we were lucky enough to go. Was it last year? No, I guess it was 2018. Yeah, we were there with Round Midnight, which is an unbelievable male quartet. They're just fantastic, and they were the stars of the show. And then we got to sing a couple of numbers, and then we sang with Lindi's group, and we did the big finale, and the girls just, they can't stop talking about it. They got more out of those experiences. I mean, of course, I've taken them to Disney World many times. I've taken them to Universal Studios many times. And those are fun times and bonding times and a lot of, social interaction. It's just wonderful. But these musical experiences where we're just really learning are what they remember. And I am so lucky that I was able to take these young women to these places. I think Vermont is the most special. They all want to come back every single year. Can we go back to Vermont? They don't want to go back to Disney World. They want to go back to Vermont. And we were supposed to come this year because we go every 2 years is really what it was, because we went in 2016 as well. And so we were scheduled to come until, the international pandemic struck, and that stopped everything. But the girls are begging, when can we go back to Vermont? We want to work with Lindi. We want to work with her group. Some of the members of Lindi's group keep in touch with the girls via Facebook. They became friends. It's just across, generations that this is happening. And it's really wonderful. It's been exciting. It's been exciting because it means that barbershop music is alive and kids want to be part of this. They want to feel this special feeling when they're challenging themselves to sing. This music is difficult. I mean, I can't even, oh my goodness. I was listening to some of the recordings that Lindi had sent. They are way difficult. And we were singing this music in the 7th grade and the 8th grade. I can't even imagine I don't know how she pulled it off. I don't know how she pulled it off, but the quality is beyond anything you could hear now. You just couldn't. What you were able to do, Lindi, it marks, it's such a high level that it just gives us all a standard that we strive to be at, and that's where we're doing now. My girls listen to these. I play recordings for them all the time. And, the goal is to get the blend correctly, to get all of the vowels aligned, to have everything just so. Now, keep in mind, we are rehearsing 12 feet apart with masks on.
I was going to ask about that, how this has changed, how you're doing everything.
So it's been challenging, but, we are fortunate. We are in person. We have the chance to see each other, and we know how lucky we are. We are appreciative. All of the girls are appreciative. I have girls that don't come to school. They're all virtual. They learn from home, yet they come back on Monday nights and they rehearse with me because that's what matters to them. And I think that the fact that we're able to provide that, and yes, singing in masks 12 feet apart is no fun for anyone. It's just not. Getting a blend is tough. Trying to teach choreography is a challenge. We did it. It wasn't pretty.
Where do you rehearse? What
Yeah,
type of building?
We rehearse in the auditorium.
Oh,
So the entire auditorium is filled with, I
Wow.
tried to make it like a 3 to 4 part lines, like riser positions. And I have all the basses in the center, and then, the leads and the baritones and the tenors on the end, just like I would do with a riser position. So everything I can do to simulate what is normal, but
mhm,
it's not. But yet they're still excited about being there. And they're
mhm.
still excited about the challenge. We want music, Ms. Howell, that's really tough. One of the students said to me yesterday, and it was so cool to hear this, a senior, and she said, Ms. Howell, I just want you to know, when I was in the 8th grade, that my goal was Adelettes. That was my goal.
I love
And I
it.
said, wow, that is amazing. That was it though? That was the goal? She goes, that was it. She goes, yeah, I wanted to be in chamber singers with you. I wanted all that, but Adelettes was the focus. That was the goal. And she said, how can we make everyone aware of this? And she was so excited about sharing, with other young people who maybe don't know about barbershop music. And you were asking earlier, how popular is barbershop music? It's not super popular in the high schools. Not many people do it simply because it's so difficult. It's a lot more challenging than your typical choral rep. It's a cappella, and it's a lot of dominant 7 chords. It's tough. It's really tough. And they have to know a lot about music theory to understand where they lie in the chord and who should be louder and who should, who has the root and this and that. And so it's a really nice teaching opportunity for students. And when they graduate, they know this. And it helps them move on in their musical career, wherever that may take them. And they always know what they can do.
So, I've always, been a little bit curious about why is this type of music called barbershop music? If you could explain for, some of the listeners who might not know.
Oh boy, we're going to have to read the handbook on this. I could tell you the typical answer would be that in a barber shop, they'd start singing. And it was all ear singing. That it was not written down originally. Someone knew the melody. They knew in their heads what the chords were. And then they started harmonizing by ear. And it wasn't until 1945, 1947 that they started writing these arrangements down so that more people could sing them. But there's a whole history of barbershop, and I would direct your listeners to find out, because I'm afraid that I'm not going to give you all the correct dates and people. But it started with the men in the 1940s, and then the women caught on. They wanted it too. And now it's grown to maybe 33,000 women in Sweet Adelines in maybe 8 countries. Again, my numbers could be off by 1 or 2. But the thing about barbershop is that because of the Music Man, people learned about barbershop, but they learned in not necessarily a positive way, because they see people in straw hats singing old-fashioned music, and that's not what it is today. Today's barbershop has taken the same chord structures and vocabulary, but applied it to music of today so that more and more younger people are able to really relate to it, as well as some of the old standards. It uses basically the American songbook, songs of the 40s, but there are wonderful arrangements now of popular groups that we're doing. Kristin, what are some of the ones that we've done together? Sing?
We did Can't Stop the Feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Rise Again.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
There's one Sing.
I don't think we ever did that one together,
Mm-hmm.
but we've done all of the Valentine's Day music we have our standard Valentine's Day music, Our Heart of My Heart for the boys, and Shaboom for the girls. Sharon, I'm sure you know that, and Eyes of Love and all of that. But now I have students arranging their own music in barbershop style we do a Valentine's Day, singing Telegram Day, and it's one of the highlights of the year. And Lindi started that.
Is this a tradition that you've continued? And curious how that whole thing came about as well.
Well, I read about it, that the men were doing this type of thing. And so I said, maybe we could do this in the school. Let's try it. And so we got together and we decided how we would do it. And we got everybody's schedules when they were free, when they thought that they could be available. And I made quartets for period 1, period 2, period 3, like that. But then the hardest thing was getting permission from the teachers to allow us to come in and disrupt their class for 5 minutes. You know, I mean, some people, their classes were sacred. And I mean, I'm putting a rather nasty, I don't mean to be a nasty slant, but it was an invasion of their space. And some teachers welcomed it and said that it was the best day of the year because people were nice to each other, which was usually the case, except for those who bought Valentines for their friends who were in the cafeteria to embarrass them. So there were those types of Valentines too. But primarily, it was a day of love. It was, the kids would go around, they'd have roses that Tri-M would give them to sell for $3. So they could have a singing telegram for $3, or for $5, you get the song with the rose. And you'd hear these little quartets running all over the school all day, into classrooms, into the cafeteria, into the courtyard, singing and surrounding people and sharing the music and the joy. And it was wonderful. It was just, as I look forward to it every year. And so, Kristin, you can tell me how it's going now.
It is super. One of the highlights of the year for sure for both groups. We now have a men's group at Syosset High School. When I started there, the Adelettes was so popular and so many girls wanted to be in it. The boys started to feel left out and they said, why can't we have a group? And I said, I don't know, I think we can. So we were able to make it happen. And now we have a male group and a female group. And on Valentine's Day, it is their day. It is their Super Bowl. And they spend, just like Lindi described, the entire day spreading love and joy through their music. And they sell, I want to say, close to 350 telegrams per year. That's a lot to deliver. And it is completely student run in terms of selling them. We do telegrams over the phone. So we get a lot of teachers who want to buy telegrams for their loved ones and we call them. Now we can do FaceTime. So if they can't be with us, we would FaceTime them. We would poll every teacher in the building and make sure it was okay to come into their classrooms. Now what I've started doing is whenever anyone purchases a telegram, they sign a waiver saying that their intentions are good and they're abiding by the school policy and the code of conduct, that they're providing the singing telegram in a really, really good way. So we don't have those problems, thank goodness, of people making fun of other people. That's gone. Thank goodness it's gone and it's never coming back because everybody's in it for the right reasons. The teachers, I would say on the whole, really love it. Yes, sometimes it's difficult to go into some classrooms because teachers are teaching and that's their time and we get that. So we respect that and we send them love through the air. But everybody else, we go into their classrooms and they are so excited when the knock comes on the door. Everybody gets all excited. One year I followed them around with a video camera and I was able to capture how the reaction was felt among the person receiving the telegram and then all of the students around. It was so fun to watch their face and for them to feel special for that, 2 minutes or 3 minutes. And they got to the point now where they took the person, they said, do you feel comfortable sitting in this chair in front of the room? And the person usually says, yes, I would love to sit. And they surrounded the person and they sang to that person. And it was so nice. And it was just such a wonderful way to share a moment of kindness and of love. Yeah. And that's what we're doing because that's the goal, is let's share this through this music. I was talking earlier about some of the selections. I use all of Lindi's selections that she handed down to me, and she handed down to me wonderful music that I still have all of her handwriting on, all of her folders, everything, and I use it every day. And now we have more music that students have created. They've arranged popular pieces. We've got a version of I've Had the Time of My Life from Dirty Dancing that we use for a singing telegram. We actually have a Lady Gaga version of Bad Romance that the kids love to sing. We probably have about 12, 13 pieces now, and they're continuing to do it. I have students writing now because they want to. They're so excited. They want to learn how to arrange music now. So in addition to singing it, teaching it, they're arranging it. And that's kind of exciting because they can hear their own arrangements sung in a live situation. Now this year it's going to be a little challenging because with the regulations, I'm not really sure we can actually do our norm and go into the classroom. So we're trying to get creative, and we might be sending a lot of emails with videos, which is fine. And we might be calling a lot of people and using a FaceTime kind of a thing. And the students will be 12 feet apart and they'll sing that way, and that'll be great. But actually one year it was so popular that Fox News came to Syosset High School and they interviewed us for these singing telegrams. And I had all the girls in their sweatshirts. That year it was a big heart on it. It said, "I love Syosset High School Adelettes." And they wore them, and we gave one to the news anchor who was there, and we all sang to her, and it was so fun. And they put it on the news because it's something so different. And not many schools really have that, but thanks to Lindi, Syosset does.
Oh, thank you. And we did have boys do it too. I just want to say, yeah, we did, but it wasn't as organized as yours. You have a regular boys chorus type of thing. I mean, that meet regularly. I was lucky if I could get 4 or 8, and so I had at least a quartet going around. I had one quartet called the almost 4. Or no, the sometimes 4, because to have 4 of them in the same room at the same time, it's like herding cats. So, but we did at least have one boys group and sometimes more than one boy quartet. So that's good. Oh, and I want to share, we had a story too. My women do this, but they're not in a school. We drive around to various places, and we were in a place where it was headquarters, and it was a snowy day, and so they had parked on the street where they shouldn't have because there was no other place to park. The snow was in the regular parking places. So we get this knock on the door, and this officer, this very large officer, says, "You're going to have to move your cars, and if you don't move them in 3 minutes, we're going to ticket you all." And I said, "Officer, come on in and see what we're doing." And I brought him in, and we surrounded him. He was really tall too. His name was Officer Merkel. And he stood there, and we surrounded him, and we sang to him, and he got misty, and he said, "Oh my God, could you sing for my wife?" So we did.
A ticket in the best way.
They got ticket, and he said, "Take your time, but if you could eventually get your cars because they're not in a safe place." P.S. One of my women is on route number 7, going way over the speed limit, and she gets pulled over by Officer Merkel, and so she says to him, this is another day, like a couple of months, maybe a month later. And she says, "Officer Merkel, you were in my house and we sang to you." And he said, "Oh, are you part of Made in Vermont?" And she said, "Yes, I am." And he said, "Well, here's a warning." So she got out of the ticket. So it's really been a wonderful thing that we've done. So that's the story. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I remember now the male group that was a counterpart when I was, in high school had a really kind of goofy name. I don't know if they gave it to themselves or if that was something you dubbed them, but they were called, it was the Testosterone. Do you remember that?
Yes. Scott was trying to get me fired. Yeah. I said, we can't do that. He said, yeah, you can. Testosterone. And you trip on that one a lot. But yeah. Scott Chesson, that was his creation. Yeah.
Yeah, that was great. That was there was like 2 years, I remember, where they would, come along and the vests, they would wear their vests and they would do their little bit they were great too.
That was when Brian was a freshman and Scott was a senior.
So I want to just back up for a quick second. So the project that you're referring to with the White Christmas project, this was sort of what brought this whole idea together. And so I want to hear from Kristin the whole idea for how the recording for White Christmas came together, and I'm hoping we can actually play that. We're going to have that audio added to the end of this. So just a little bit about that experience.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to be creative right now in this pandemic. It's very, very difficult to keep things in the ways that we're used to them being. We're used to singing together in a concert. We're used to going to Manhattan to sing in all different places, going to hospitals, going to just different venues, and that's not happening right now. So I thought, what can we do to unify? What can we do to spread this community of music and of joy? How can I get everyone together? And I don't know if you used White Christmas every year. I don't remember singing it with you. I just don't, but correct me if I'm wrong. But for some reason, I started using White Christmas the first year I came to Syosset as my final song of the winter concert, because it was always a little bit before the holiday, and I just did it every year. So it became kind of like the winter alumni song.
Sure.
Did you do that? I'm not sure.
I have a winter alumni song, but I sang it many times.
Oh, okay.
And so it's probably when you ask me, you usually send me names of songs, titles, and say, does this make a good program? Would this be a good thing for us to do? And yeah, it's a wonderful song. It's easy and it rings well, and it's sentimental, and it's traditional. It's good. Good.
So all of the women that I've worked with for 21 years knew it. They all knew it, or at one point they knew it. So I figured, what would be better? What could be better than this alumni song sung by all of the alumni? So I took I'm a little bit anal and organized. So I went in my folder and I took out every program I have, which I saved from 2001 until now. And I went on Facebook and I tried to friend every single lady on those lists in order to spread the word. Now, I couldn't find all of the programs from beforehand. I did find quite a few because Lindi had them there. So everybody I could reach out to, I tried via Facebook. And anybody else that I had their emails, I went through both of my emails from school and from home, and I just emailed them personally. And then I went through my phone and I texted every single person that I had. And then I was lucky because one of the other teachers that I work with, Stephanie Kopais, was in the group, so she knew people.
Reached out to our ear, yeah.
And this sort of, it was like a domino effect that everyone was talking to
reached
someone.
out and this one reached out.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I was able to get the word out, which was great. And everyone was able to get the information however they were, via Facebook or an email or something being forwarded to them. And what I decided to do was, originally I made a PDF of the music. I rewrote it so it was nice and easy to see. And then I made tracks for everyone to listen to their part. And then I had like a click track going. And it was very soon that I realized that wasn't going to work, because this song is not about, sticking to tempo. This is a song that really requires you to feel, phrase by phrase in more of a rubato situation. So I was in rehearsal. I just said, you know what, girls, I'm going to record this. I'm going to conduct it. You're going to sing it. And this is going to be the listening track. And it was that simple. I don't know why I thought of it then. I just did. And I posted that. And then I asked everyone to send me an audio. And then after the audio was mixed, I asked everyone to make me a video. And this was perhaps the most special part, because some of the videos, they included their families. I had a lot of ladies, holding their babies or singing with their kids, or two sisters singing together that were both in the group at different times. It was super special to see that. And the whole video that was finally released was absolutely phenomenal. I did have help with that. A good friend, her name is Nikki Brenner. She has a business. She does this. She's incredibly talented. She mixed all of the audio, over 100 audios. She mixed that down to get the final mix for the audio, and then she was able to organize all of the videos, and she grouped them by, I don't know if you caught that when you saw the video, she grouped them by year.
Yeah.
So it was like oldest to newest. And then we added some pictures that I asked people on Facebook to provide. So I got a lot of really cool vintage photos from way back. And I thought that was really, really neat.
Mhm.
And I shared this project with the Barbershop Harmony Society. Lindi suggested I do that, and they loved it, and they posted it on their Facebook. So I thought that was kind of exciting, because they said this is exactly what we want, because we want to know what the youth of America is doing. We want to see this. This is exactly, what we hope for barbershop music. So it was exciting that they really liked that, and they shared that with everyone. So that was cool.
It was such a rewarding experience. I mean, it was like, it brought people together. Everyone on Facebook was talking about what are they going to wear. Some people bought like barbershop shirts that they, try to recreate their costumes from days gone past. It was just really fun. So, so thank you so much for doing that and for including all the alumni. And it was really special. So that was really cool. And like I said, we're going to include the audio. Yeah.
A question for you. You were going to share some of your memories as an Adelette.
Oh yeah. I mean, some of my memories, of course we talked about like the trips we did to Disney, the one where we would go and visit your Ramapo chorus, I remember. And that was really special. Just getting to see you in your element with them was always a real treat. And I remember going to like rehearsals and and also performances. So that was something very special to me. We went up to the Concord. And I think it was part of the same, like we would do a workshop where we would kind of sing and then also teach. And I remember I have a video I was just watching that my dad took where you handed out like the different parts and made the audience participate. And I was just curious, like what that was from, like those sort of trips. Was that like an all-state thing or?
It was New York State School, NYSSMA. It's their winter conference. It's now in Rochester, but it was at the Concord Hotel for years and years until they finally tore it down. And it was the once a year thing where it was an unbelievable honor to be selected. The teachers have to fill out these forms and send in tapes, and then you're lucky if you ever get asked to be part of that. So Kristin has been there performing she's mentioned that, and we have done it several times. And so that's what you were part of. And that was my wanting to make barbershop like a chicken in every pot. It's there's where I got my chickens. My teachers were there, and I wanted to introduce them and to show them that good singing is good singing. They had because back to the Music Man thing that I was starting to mention, that was a certain quality of singing, and people sort of typed it and said, "Ooh, that's barbershop. We know what that is, but that's not real good singing." And what we want to show them is that good singing is good singing, and you can sing good barbershop. It has to be good in order for it to be good barbershop. And that was my mission, is to, through you, to show them how wonderful barbershop can be. So
yeah. Right back at you. This has been really so incredibly special to have this conversation and to just sort of like make this connection from all our memories to what you're currently doing, and thank you for keeping the Adelette spirit going. It's just really exciting, and I can't wait, especially when this is over. Like to do more collaborative things as well. The library, I remember singing at the library. I don't know if it was through Adelettes or, but various things back in the day. But yeah, we'd love to continue that once we can all be together in person as well.
Well, I'm going to give you a little maybe, but we have done our own, what do you call it when Hollywood Squares things? We've done True Colors. And we've done I've Got a Crush on You, just the chorus where you see everybody, doing it. And so Kristin and I are thinking that maybe, just maybe, in the spring, the Adelettes and my chorus here will learn the same song, and we will put that out, and that'll be a real coming together of the youth and the not so young.
Yes. Yes, that's the plan. That's our next project. So sneak peek.
That's a great idea. Wonderful. And this has been Sharon with the Syosset Library's podcast, Turn the Page, with my special guest
We hope
today,
you enjoyed
Kristin
this
Howell
all
and
Adelettes
Lindi
episode
Bortney.
of
and
Turn
we're
the
going
Page
to end this
podcast.
chapter.
Please stay tuned to hear the full recording of White Christmas by the Syosset Adelettes alumnae and more samples of the Adelettes singing those sweet barbershop chords. Thank you again to Ms. Lindi Bortney and Ms. Kristin Howell for spreading the joy of music through the legacy of the Syosset Adelettes.
Love.